we can go.
You ready?
Good. Good morning, everybody. The participants of 2019 Winter Global Business Research Symposium in Los Angeles at the University of Riverside. My name is Evariste Umba, and I've got an old master's in science from University of Cape Town in South Africa. And I believe that today is a new dawn for the African continent as well as the partnership with the United States. On the subject that I'm going to introduce you to now is about analytical approach on land redistribution in South Africa to redress the economic inequality. So in fact, this research has involved many partners such as the concerned clergy. In fact, we use the concerned clergy as a platform to gather information from pastors, from business, from leaders. The Visual International has been a greatest contributor because he has given us a document that they publish in terms of land restitutions. And Charles, who is the CEO, in fact, he has donated, restitute about 2 farmland as he has been the beneficiary of the past apartheid law of land dispossession. And the Life Change Center is the organization that I'm leading. I'm the founding chairperson, whereby we are involved in the townships, in the local community to empower people in different skills. Thank you I believe that this presentation is going to help you, is going to enlighten you, and is going to answer to some of the concerns from the US President Trump. Thank you. So in terms of the outline, so we're going to dedicate this work and we're going to present an overview of Cape Town. In fact, I'm making a presentation here in Johannesburg, which is the economic capital of South Africa. So, but we're going to give you an overview of Cape Town, the place where we have done most of our research in the Western Cape province for about 2 years. And then we will present the ancient world of Egypt, how they have addressed the issue of land. We will also introduce the migrations of North and Central Africans to South Africa, how did it happen, and we'll introduce as well South African land history and problems, the Land Act of 1913, and we will propose the land mediation. And finally, we will work towards the economic purpose of land redistribution and the social enterprise and project. Thank you. So, 2 words, we want to dedicate this work to the creator of all knowledge, the one who made the universe, who has given us, I believe, the knowledge, the ability to be able to do those research. And we want also to acknowledge the University of Riverside for hosting those business symposium. And we want also to acknowledge all the sponsors, the people that support us just toward this process. And unfortunately, we could not secure a US visa for some reasons, but we have managed by the support of many to be able to stand here and also to project this video where you are right now in Los Angeles, also for the rest of the globe of the community who will be listening to us, and also to my family in the US and the DRC, as well as in South Africa, and to Dr. Teach, who has made this venue available for us in Johannesburg to be able to speak to you. And this picture gives you an idea of the corner of Africa. It's called Cape Point. This is me. I'm standing here. When you reach this place, it's always exciting, you know. You say, I reached the corner of Africa. So I really invite you one day to visit. So I also want to acknowledge all the participants of this global symposium. Thank you. We're going to see a little bit the overview of Cape Town. Okay, so after the overview of Cape Town, I believe that you have seen how the beauty of Cape Town. But also on the other side of the story, you will see there are some shacks or Oakings, the place that really doesn't look very good. So there are two sides of the story of Cape Town, and which some people, when you are a tourist, you don't really see. Please ask the tourist to take you to what we call townships or informal settlement, whereby you can find 4,000 people concentrated in one place with no electricity at all for 20 or 25 years. So one of our programs has managed to work toward, for about 2 years, we have managed to in collaboration with the city, now they are working toward and putting electricity, which is in Skapkral, the community of Jimsebos. So it's also a sad story, but we're trying our best to address the issue. So now this next slide is a serious slide. I believe that every African, every businessman and woman always has a question about how can we alleviate poverty? How can we address poverty successfully? That's the biggest question. You always find people on the corner of the road, they're asking you for some coins or for some US dollars, please give me something. And how can you have such person? We have seen many programs in Africa here. We have seen many programs in the States. We have seen many programs in Europe trying to address the problem. I believe that this contribution is going to help you to address it successfully and efficiently. The biggest question is, how can you convert a non-productive tree into a productive tree? How can you change a person from the state of poverty, of lack completely, into a state of abundance? How can you change this person who is totally dependent on the state funds, on social ground, who's depending on you on the street, into becoming a total contributor of the GDP or the tax fund? So how can you do this? How can you do this? This is the biggest question we're asking ourselves. I believe that this presentation is going to help you to picture what actually you can do into addressing. So we have the first category that we're going to mention is about women, how women they assist in empowering the community after being equipped on the land mediations, how they help people who had nothing, who have now been restored of the land. So that's what we call women in the mediation, and I'm calling on women in South Africa to stand up and really to take the role of the leaders of the house, of the mothers of the house, to negotiate on this land issue. And we also have the other aspect of presenting in terms of the social enterprise, which is a concept introduced by the former US President Barack Obama in terms of what is social enterprise compared to our traditional model of entrepreneurship. So the social enterprise involves a product that you have created with him that the society or the people may buy it from you. But the social enterprise model is a model whereby you create a product with him that it will benefit to the society. So it's a two models that we believe that are going to have in terms of women in mediations and as well as in terms of social enterprise in addressing the land redistribution for economic purpose to alleviate poverty in South Africa, in Africa, and the rest of the. Okay, so with the problem of land, it's also happened once in the ancient world in Egypt in 1400 BC, whereby Joseph, a young man from a foreign national from Israel, who has managed to assist Pharaoh as king to address the problem successfully. In fact, Egypt turned to fate the whole world by recommending the king or the pharaoh to appoint land commissioners, which we call today land administrators. So this turned to be a very successful model on the times of abundance and to organize a storage of crops, of grains, so that in the times of lack or famine, they will be able to have more than enough. In fact, Egypt turned to trade with many countries and to exchange. In fact, the whole world almost, the history tells us, that visit Egypt during that time, that period of time. So the importance of land administrators is crucial in terms of land conflict resolutions in the world. Thank you. Next slide. So we may ask ourselves a question of what really happened. Today, you may have questions around Africa. Is there has been any form of migration in African continent? Yes, of course. So among the Africans themselves, in between 1300 to 2000 years ago, there has been a move from Nigeria, as you can see, this is the northwest, they migrate to South Africa, and also from, this was the biggest empire of the African continent between 1500. So this is the Congo Democratic, you have Angola, in fact there was some part of Gabon as well. These people migrate to the south, and also you have the Nilotic from Ethiopia, Kenya, they also migrate to south of South Africa. The history is telling us that when, especially the people from the empire with Njinga Kuvu, who was the king during that time, and when they arrived here in the KwaZulu-Natal, that we so-called KwaZulu-Natal today, the Zulu land, they use one of the language in the Martino language, which says, called that place as the sky or heaven. So in the Kikongo, in fact, Zulu means heaven. So when they arrived, they've seen a green land. It was so beautiful, and they call it Zulu land. And then we see that growth of that community until today. So beside of that, there was also movement of the European between 1400 to 1800s. So the first one that arrived was the Portuguese, and we can see the extensions of the colony here on the side. The Portuguese arrived in 1482, and then we have, after that, we have Van Riebeeck from the Dutch that's arrived in the Cape. They all arrived from the Cape in 1652. And after Van Riebeeck, we have the arrival of the British, which is in 1820s. So those movements, we all know really what's happened. And in the past, they used to negotiate with the Khoisan, but unfortunately, the situation turns very bad in the manner whereby they have to trade with the Khoisan with a gun. So they will exchange one cow for 2,000 square kilometers of land. So it has been very challenging for the Khoisan to be mistreated in that position. And we can see then the extensions of the colony, so they had enough land. And it was even reported that Mr. Simon van Rebel that assist some of the people in the Cape, in the Stellenbosch, so he was giving them completely land just for free, giving his own people from Europe land for free. Why the Khoisan, they have to struggle in their lives. So this is a story of dispossession that happened in the African continent. Thank you. Then this video is going to play, it's going to tell you a story about the land dispossession from the Act of 1913, the Land Act, which gives 80% of land to the colony. We're just using the concept colony for the white, and also 13% to the African or the black community. It's a very challenging video to watch, just to see how really people struggle in South Africa in terms of land redistribution.
It's a sad depiction of the wrongs of our country's laws.
A number of photographers in the early 20th century and late 19th century were photographing black people in a particular way. They were representing black people in a particular way, such as, for example, in this image here, where people are shown or represented to belong to some kind of ahistorical reality where they apart from the actual politics and realities of the time. It's a very romantic representation in a way, and it suited the photographers at that time, the white photographers at that time. But in fact, the reality here, you will see, is that people were being dispossessed of their land, and there was resistance from the start. So, for example, at the top here, these are images, very rare images from the Bambata rebellion. He objected to and resisted having to pay poll taxes. Bambata was then beheaded. I think these two images are I find them extremely painful, actually. They're extremely sad. These are a picture of a dispossessed black family here, and again here, after the act, and they've been taken by somebody called William Frederick Henry Pocock.
Organizers hope visitors will, through the exhibition, have a greater understanding of the injustices that are still evident. Political analyst Zwelethu Jolobe believes South Africa is moving too slowly on the matter because there are other bread and butter issues perceived to be more important.
After 2 or 3 generations, people forget. Why? Because people are born into dispossession. People are born into poverty. And life for the majority of people is not easy. It's about living in the moment.
At the moment, there seems to be no workable solution to land redistribution, and it's the poor that suffer the most. Exhibitors hope their display proves land dispossession is an issue that's been going on for far too long. Zikhona Chona, Cape Town.
So now, what were the impact of the Native Land Act of 1930 and the Group Area Act of 1948? So those both are similar with each other. It's about dispossession. So this is when you ask yourself why the colonies are targeted in this manner. Just look at the gaps between the both communities. So you have only the white that we call the colony with 8.4% of population. Do you know how much land they own? 67% of land. This was provided recently. This is a recent stat that was released. And then you have the black or the African community. They are 80% of population versus how much land that they were given. They only have 15% of land ownership. Now the Khoisan is 8.8% for 8% of land. You can see it's about 5 million of Khoisan that are left in the country, and they only occupy about 8% of land ownership, while they were the first year in the nation of South Africa. So it's a very challenging a story of dispossession that we see here happening. And also, we have the former mayor of Cape Town, Mr. Peter Marais. He was also the former premier, who made the statement in one of the land debates in Cape Town that about 70,000 people in the Western Cape were displaced from the Land Act and the Group Area Act. So if we estimate 5 people per family, so that is about 350,000 people that were victims of land dispossession. And today, if we have times this to another 3 generations from 1913 until now, we times it by 3, and we found about 1.7 million of people have been impacted just in the Western Cape about land dispossession. So most of these people, they have created the area that we call Cape Flat. So Cape Flat is an area that was created where you hear a lot of gangsters, a lot of drug merchandising, a lot of homelessness, a lot of unrest. That's the Cape Flat, and it's mostly occupied by the Khoisan. or so-called colored community. So it's the land disposition has been really at the core of the problem that we see in poverty in South Africa, as well as in terms of the violence and the unrest that you can even hear about the South African country. Thank you. So now, what was I just want to give you an idea of the land redistribution of the black population or the African population between 1994 and 2016. Of course, we thank former President Mandela, or the president that passed away. We salute his soul for that, for his work that he has done to this country in terms of bringing out peace and forgiveness. But unfortunately, there is a little bit of challenge here. From 1994, we had to redistribute land to the owners, the real owners of the land, the victims. Now there has been progress in some parts of the country. So such as in KwaZulu-Natal, 45 to 73%. So it's good, it's not bad. And you see Gauteng from 0 to 39%. That's wonderful. And you see Limpopo from 38% to 52% of black ownership, and Mpumalanga from 10 to 39% of black ownership. These are all wonderful stats, but we're coming to a very challenging part, which is the Northern Cape from 0% to 6.4% only. And then you have Western Cape from 0 to 4.9% only of black ownership of land. It's very challenging to see. And Free State, look at Free State, 1.6% to 7.9% of black ownership. So it's very challenging. Okay, thank you for Eastern Cape. There is a progress in Eastern Cape from 28 to 48%. So this graph itself, to give you a picture of 22 years, you may ask yourself, why South Africa, after 22 years, not much has been done in terms of land ownership of the black community. So today we're sitting with a massive problem that is about to happen about land expropriation without compensation. So you can see yourself some of the provinces who are still struggling on the land ownership for the black or the African community. So we have tried to link between the land ownership and as well as the minerals. We know Africa is very rich in terms of minerals. South Africa is also very rich on minerals. So we try to link this aspect of minerals. So we can see that the biggest challenge is in Northern Cape. Okay, NC means Northern Cape. He has 6.4% of land ownership for the black community or the African community. Just look at Northern Cape. Which one? The biggest minerals is lead, zinc, copper, and silver. We all know what those minerals are helping us in terms of business, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of the technology, also in terms of medicinal, plant medicinals, or the treatment of diseases. My work was really concentrating on copper, how we can assist in designing medicine from copper itself. So these are very rich minerals that are used in different area or different fields. So you also have Free State 7.9%. You can see it. Gold is a province of gold. So we believe this could be the reason why there has been a slow pace in terms of land redistribution. And also, you have seen the videos of Cape Town. So Cape Town is agricultural. Wine, wow, that's Cape Town, especially Stellenbosch. You have the property value. Property value are very high in Cape Town. And you also have tourism. Beautiful city. So are they going just to give to the Khoisan or to the African community just a land without a proper plan, without a proper mediation, without a proper engagement? How? That's the biggest challenge that we are sitting with right now. So this is the link that we try to establish of why really there is a slow distribution of land in those provinces that we have just mentioned. So PGM means platinum groups metals. Thank you. Yes. So this is an idea in terms of the annual growth in the major sectors in South Africa. So why are we putting this graph? Because we want to just to remind everybody that is willing to regain the land. Your land has already been given to people and has become productive. So your land is productive. So if you want to regain land, you must think about how you can continue the process here, or whether in agriculture or in a mining, in a manufacturing or in a construction. So you cannot just plan to have a land without any form of a plan of construction or building of accommodation. So it's going to put up a shack is not really helping the situation, because there will be a shift of sectors. You see, like this is in the Western Cape, agricultural was very low, but it has increased seriously. And then you see mining was very low, but it has increased significantly. Manufacturing was high, it's decreased. Construction was high, it's decreased. But now I must tell you, if we can get the stat of 2016-17, we can see that in Cape Town, for instance, there's a lot of construction are taking place, especially in the suburbs. So when you are thinking of grabbing land, you are devaluating the values of most of the properties whereby those things are based. And you are going to affect on the GDP. So we already see here, Western Cape itself contribute 22% of the GDP in a country, from agricultural, construction, in a mining. So we will explain also what really happens in countries such as Zimbabwe. So when you are regaining land without any economic purposes, so what's happened? The land loses values. All the business that were running, they closed down. So what happened? The GDP is affected. So can we just go to the next slide? I will show how the South African country has managed to perform. So this is the area. South Africa was in recession, but in the last quarter of 2018, they've managed. How? Manufacturing sector, agricultural sector, coming in second position, transport, third, trade, finance. The government was only, look at the last, 1.5%. So those areas are very important in terms of the country's economy. So when you have a land, you are not thinking about how you can continue this process. You are going to affect seriously on the GDP, and the country will bankrupt. So we have seen the situation of Zimbabwe as well. The country was seriously bankrupt, and they couldn't do anyway, and the bread price was so high. Thank you. Can we go to the next slide, please? Now, I know maybe you heard about the willing buyer, willing seller laws. Maybe you heard about it in African continents. Someone told you about it. So I just want to explain here what really happened in terms of willing buyer, willing seller laws. So in a Zimbabwe situation, what was happening is when the government, when the beneficiary of land dispossession put the property in the market, so the government have to buy. But if the government cannot buy that property, you cannot at all resell that property to anyone else. But the problem of Zimbabwe is we all know what's happened, the changing of the Lancaster laws, whereby the Prime Minister of British, Tony Blair, and the others that refused completely to fund the project because the government has to buy back the land to redistribute to people. So that was also a collapse of the system. So, but now in South Africa, of course, he has been moving. South Africa has been redistributing land from 1994 until 2017. This is the graph that we have given. So you can see in 1994, it's been low, very low, until we reaches the highest peak of 500,000 hectares that were redistributed in 2000, the financial year of 2007-2008. But now, from there, we see a slight decrease, a slight increase, but we have estimate from 2008, 2017, there has been a serious decrease. So we have estimated about 350,000 hectares that were not redistributed to the people. So the biggest question remains of what could have been the reason. This was done by work-smart attorneys who have really contributed to our work. So what could have been the cause of this, this missing of 356,000 hectares of land that were not redistributed to the people who really own? we're supposed to own the land. Thank you. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, the possible reason is funds. The government was running out of funding, especially the government, the Department of Rural and Agriculture. They were running out of funding, the land affairs. So they start very well. It was very good. 1.8 billion. Remember, though, we are estimating $1 value is about 14 rand and 40 cents. So you have 1.8, which will give you about an estimate value of about 100 millions, or let's say 140 millions of US dollars. But look at what happened here. There has been a decrease, a serious decrease from 2008. Again, 2008 to 2017, you can see the decrease on the funding, which we believe is very much linked to the land redistribution in the graph that we had above. So the funding could have been an issue. So we estimate about 900 millions that were not given to the government so that it can be able to assist on the land redistribution. Remember, there has been many procedures such as the courts we use as a strategy of land redistributions to the people of South Africa. So can we go to the next slide, please? Now, the willing buyer, willing seller has not been a bad thing in some, thank you. We have Charles Robinson, who has written a document about the land restitution. He believed that when you restitute land to someone, you bring an emotional healing in that person. You restore that person's past. You restore that person is hurt, because people have been hurt in this country, and not much has been done to address. So he strongly, Charles is here, is from Visual International, and he strongly believes that land has to be restituted to the people of South Africa. So we also have situations such as 60 people. So the people were displaced in Claremont in Cape Town, and they have organized themselves in the form of a group. So that group of beneficiary, they have organized a trustee, and that trustee, the government of land claim has given them a big portion of land. So they bought this land, the city bought the land, and he has given that to the people. So we'll advise people to be organized in groups, so you will facilitate the process. We also have the situation of the land claim of the tenant. The tenant, these are the people who have been working at the farm that they wanted to be evicted. So they won that. There were thousands of people. But we have a very interesting story here of a farm workers here. Okay? This is in the Free State. Okay, we have seen the Free State is one of the states whereby, the province whereby there have been less land redistribution. So these farmers, commercial farmers, believe that we need to have these people. They went to the government, they said, we're putting our farmland in the market, but in condition that if you buy it, government, we're going to give this land to our farm workers. And we're going to empower them so that they can get ownership of this farm. So this is what they have done. So those farm workers receive about 1,500 hectares of land. It's a very interesting story to hear of the goodwill of the farmers, also the state fund as well. Thank you. Can we go to the next slide, please? Now, we have seen the funding problem according to our research. The funding problem, the link between minerals and resources in the province, and the state, as the leading party of South Africa, has made a decision by the elective conference of 2017 that we should go for a resolution to expropriate land without a compensation. And in the SONA address, the State of the Nation address from President Ramaphosa, he has made it official in February 2018. In fact, it was just about a couple of weeks when we started really to write down with some academic about this research. This was the biggest problem. Look at the reactions of the population. In Cape Town itself, we have seen from January to July 2018, plus and minus 145 land evasion. It means the community, people are coming, This picture was taken in Hermanus, is in the Western Cape province. The people were coming, they built shack immediately. So the city has about an extra hundreds of new community built of shacks. And we already know the impact in terms of the value of the property. So we know the impact economically. This just happened to this area, Hermanus, Mitchell's Plains, Kapkral. This is where we are working in Kailija, in many other areas. It was out of hand for the mayor in that time. And also in terms of the traditional leaders, we had the Menas, or one of the Khoi king, to go for a sovereign state in the Cape Town. And we also have the Menas in the Zulu, KwaZulu-Natal of secession. This is just how challenging was the decision that the government has made. So now, in terms of the thinking of the people, so we have the landowner. The landowner is thinking about something. He said, myself here, if these people come, I will fight for my property. And right now we are telling you, they are being prepared for anything, any eventuality. The other one say, I'm innocent. Another landowner, I say, let live like in the Congo, of course, in the DRC also they left, or like in Zimbabwe. Just leave the country. Let go. We sell our land and let go. Now, this is the victim of land dispossession. This is what he's thinking. He say, okay, if I get myself a land, I'll put myself a shack. That's what they were doing in 145, just in Cape Town, but it also happened across South Africa. He also said, no, I need this farm to sell it. He said, if I just get this farm, I will just sell it. The other guy say, they must leave. They must leave our land. They must leave. We don't want them anymore. Yeah. Oh, they are already married to your daughters, your sisters, your brothers. You know, it's very difficult now. So, okay, this other will say, no need of land but money. You know, many beneficiaries, they say to the parliament, they say, we don't want them, just give us money. End of the story. So what happened here, we have some stat. The government has put about 2 billion of rand. In fact, it's double of the amount. So people used to, when the state buy a farmland, the beneficiary don't want to go to the farmland anymore because they are all moved to the city. So what's happened? The government is buying back. So he has to give money to the beneficiary and he has to give money to the landowner. So he's buying twice the land. So this is also one of the conditions whereby the state has to make decision. We say we are running out of funds, we must do something about this. Other one say, this is our land, but it's not yours. This is our land. It's not yours. So this is our land. Now the question is, to whom South Africa belong to? We have a big question in our mind now. So the other one says, no, if they give me a land, I will build a rehab or a factory, but I will need money. So you need two things. You need money and you also need land. So 2 things, okay? So you have all these questions. So this is my question I brought. I say, have you written your plan once you get that dream land? Look at the man, you say, H, good question, man. You know, it's a very important question. So many people are not very much prepared about what they're about to receive. So we need to assist them throughout different programs to prepare them. So this is my statement. The victim of past discrimination must be restored of their possession and be paid for the damage caused. But how it can be done peacefully? This is the biggest question. So this is why we are proposing here the Amena way, but things can be done in a way that it will not affect the economy. So the government here, just point again, the government here of South Africa is proposing, is coming as, I say, I will expropriate land from this guy without compensation so I can give it to you. But this guy is still thinking, he say, will I give you government this job? Now, those wise people, I'm calling wise people, women and men, the people of integrity, the society who knows the business, who knows the land, who are also coming. Listen, we want to come as independent mediators to assist these both parties. So we have these 2 entities coming up. They say we want to propose a solution. Even to the government as well. We say we want to help you, government. Next slide, please. So, the land problem only happen in South Africa? No. This problem has been in Norway, in Indonesia, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where I was born, in Rwanda, and in Burundi. And they are successful stories. In fact, in Norway, they have demonstrated that research shows that mediation is less cost effective and is fast and is peaceful and provide better solution than adjudications in land conflict. In fact, in Israel, they're still dealing with mediations as well in terms of land conflict. In terms, mediation, in fact, involve negotiations. So this is the picture of the Great Lakes. Those women were empowered by what? Where they are coming from the search for common ground, empowered by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Netherlands. They were trained, they were equipped to be able to address the problem. So in Burundi, such as in the place such as Rumonge, this is Rumonge in Burundi, it's here. And what happened in Burundi, a woman called Chantal successfully mediated a conflict between a resident, what is the name of the residents? Silvestri and Ritimi, Baltazar. The family who had returned from Tanzania did not have any way to stay. Okay? It's just like what happened in South Africa here. People, when they migrate, they move. When they were forcibly removed, they left. But someone else was put in, was placed in. So the lands to, and when they put those people in, what happened? The person who inherits the land, Sylvester, agreed to compensate Balthazar for his loss so that he could buy a piece of land elsewhere. You see? So the mediation managed to convince the beneficiary of the land disposition to return by compensating the person who has lost. And this is what they've said. This is the conclusion. The satisfaction with the female mediators has increased, reaching 80% in the Gisagara district of Rwanda. A number of successful women-led mediation grew considerably since the project started, increasing by 22% in the Masisi territory in the DRC. The appreciation of women. So mediation is a very powerful tool. This is the DRC and this is the east of the DRC. In fact, we know most of the time, a lot of wars started here. It's about 6 to 8 million of people died for the past 22 years of war. And why? Because we know the land, everybody's after the minerals. We also know the Rwanda's unrest as well, the genocide 1994. This is the area that also experienced some unrest, but they have tried to resolve the problem. That's why we are coming here to propose also to the South African government, to the world, how mediation can assist in land conflict resolution. Can we go to the next slide, please? Now, we're coming to the concept that I mentioned about what the former President Obama proposed in terms of social enterprise. So, the purpose of our research was to propose to the government, to any other institution globally, to implement a program in terms of how can you redistribute land for economic purpose. So during our research, we have come across with this couple here, Marion Peterson. Marion Peterson is a young man from Gilgo Halfways, who is the 5th generation of land dispossession, Western Cape. In fact, in George. The land worth now 2 billion of land, which is close to 150 millions of US dollars. And it's about 100 families involved in the land claim who are still fighting. But Marlon said to himself, no, listen, instead of continue fighting, I need to work toward a plan. So now he's putting up a plan of halfway house and farming project to acquire this land in Philadelphia, which is worth about 4 million. If he acquires this land, he's going to put up a farm there. He's going to have the ex-offender and also the local community. It's based on the co-sharing of harvest. So they're going to co-share harvest. And in the next few years, 3 or 5 years, these people will become, they will get a portion of land and they will become farm owners. So this model, we find it very interesting for South African community and also the globe to consider the fact of people coming with projects, with ideas, or how they can implement social enterprise project. The other one is coming from Life Change Center that I'm leading, is a charity, how to move from charity to social enterprise by setting up internet cafe. In fact, in this facility here, there has been internet cafe already, but the owner ran out of funding, so we wanted to associate that. So beside of the computer training that we were doing, so we were thinking of saying, we need more space in terms of internet cafe. And the model of social enterprise is based on this. So there is an amount of money. The investment for a year is about 32,000 US dollars. And what you do with the 32,000 US dollars, we invest on the computers, to acquire computers, and as well as to have graphic design, and also to have a big printer machine. So these are all the services that you are providing, and the net profit that we estimate is about 14,000 US dollars. It's close to 15,000 US dollars per year. And it is split to 30% will go to the charity work of training. Because remember, the social enterprise is searching how the business can benefit to the people. So the people are coming from the training. After the training, then they enter to the channel of internet cafe that they are co-managing the business. And after 3 or 5 years, they can open up their own internet cafe. So you have 50% that will go to the business plan project, the future plan, and 20% of the funds of the net profit. It's also shared by all the shareholders. I thank you for listening to this presentation. I thank you for participating, and we will open time for questions and comment. I believe that this talk has been a new dawn for the country of South Africa, for the world, in terms of implementing project and program that will empower the poor, to remove the poor, those who are dispossessed, from the state of dependency to the state funds, to the stage of independency, becoming a tax contributor. I thank you for listening to me.